to QI, where tonight lice, love handles and lingerie are all lumped together. Let's meet the lacy Jimmy Carr, the lusty Ronnie Ancona, the leggy David Mitchell, and the lamentable Alan Davis. Before we even begin with the first question, one of your buzzers has been investigated by the FBI. Let's listen to all of them and see if you can get some early points by guessing which one. Jimmy goes... Ronnie goes...
Lay, lady, lay. Lay across my big breast bed.
David goes... And Alan goes... So we got Little Willie Really Won't Go Home. Your song, do you recognise it?
I did. I think I've heard those noises before, but I couldn't put words to it.
You seem to know it. Louis.
Which I think was investigated by the FBI. Because I think they thought it was a drug reference. They couldn't figure out what the song was about.
Worse than... Well, is it worse than drugs? No, it isn't. It's better than... Well, it's sex.
Was
sex better or worse than drugs when it comes to the FBI?
It can be better and worse.
Yeah, you're right.
You know.
Stephen, why can't we do both?
One might assist the other.
What's sex again? Sorry.
Oh.
So this is the FBI investigated song?
They investigated Louis. You.
Right.
Yeah, your song. Because they thought it had very lewd references. We can see what the lyrics actually were. Ah, on that ship, I dream she there. I smell the rose, in her hair.
Filth?
Yes, but that's what the lyric was.
Ban this filth!
What they thought was being sung was, and on that chair, I lay her there, I felt my boner in...
Oh
my God!
The weird thing is...
He wrote a song about my pre-show ritual, Ronnie.
The weird thing is, if you listen to it, you can see why they thought that. So they investigated it, played it slowly, and they explained exactly what the lyrics were. It's one of those effects where if you actually look at the right lyrics and hear it back again, it does seem... Oh, yes, I see what the words are.
It says more about them than it does about the artist.
Exactly. You're so right. Well, that's early points, then, for Jimmy Carr, who got that the FBI investigated. Points, early doors. Right, let's begin. What did the man who invented the lava lamp do for leisure? There he is.
That's John Malkovich.
It does look like John Malkovich.
Hawaiian shirt.
Was he into women? Was he a lover man?
Well, he was like most of them.
I can't believe I
A
did
lover,
that.
lover.
You know you said that out loud.
I know.
You said, was he a lover man out loud just now? They all heard.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, actually, I'm going
Have
to
you got
make
one?
a lava lamp for your edification, pleasure and entertainment. I have here a little tube. This is actually a tube that usually contains tennis balls. And this is a mixture of vegetable oil and water. And I have here a little...
Quite hard to mix, by the way, those two things.
Yeah, they are.
They separate, don't they, David?
Yes.
Hello. So you pump the colour in, and I'm going to use Alka-Seltzer, or any effervescent hangover cure pill will do.
Are you going to say, don't try this at home?
Well, you can, actually. Honestly, it's not like a Mentos. It's not going to explode. And cue light. Way, there we go. Pop it on, and then as the effervescent works, it begins... Yeah, there we are, beginning to get the effect. And there we are, the colour's now beginning to come into it. And you're getting a sort of lava lamp there, obviously. Professionally, they're made more permanent. A lava lamp, ladies and gentlemen. you've all got the equipment, as it were, so you can make one yourselves.
So exciting.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah,
Already,
so
we've begun with the thrilling excitement.
Awesome.
Will the show have to pay something to the format holders of the Generation Games?
I'd like to play.
It is a bit generation game, you're right.
Let's just...
What do we do with that?
We inject colour in,
Inject colour. You've all got different colours to make it thrilling.
Oh, it's a love.
Don't
Like
put
that.
too much of the effervescent hangover cure.
I put all of it in.
Okay.
Did it? Oh, you did.
Slightly
Don't put too many
manic,
pills in.
Sort of...
And now just put a little of the...
No,
Yeah,
put
just a
loads
little,
in. It's
just put a little
brilliant.
in, yeah.
Look at your bullshit lava lamp.
Mine is dry.
Your lava lamp is...
Hey!
Well,
Steal another one.
happening.
I
It's all
can feed
happening in
it.
our corner.
You see, when did it explode now?
Hopefully.
I can... No, you don't. No.
You're no fun. Stick another one in. This
I'm a
arse has gone
responsible
mental.
adult. There has to be one on this programme.
Look at all these little balls.
I'm nervous of having them.
Stop saying that.
This genuinely reminds me so much of school. You said, don't put all the Alka-Seltzer in, and then Alan said, we're putting it all in, as a result. And I've gone along with him, and now I'm frightened.
You know the one in trouble.
Sir did it.
You made me laugh.
Laughing at my...
You made me laugh, David.
He was laughing at my
I told you before.
You're in trouble.
It's not funny. There's nothing funny about making people laugh. Hang on, there may be, but oh dear,
Oh,
oh
it's
dear, I've
so
got oily hands.
Mitchell's taken the lid off, sir. Mitchell's taken the lid off. It's not serious.
This is most unfortunate.
Are you...
Why
Have
haven't
you
you
just-
got any little balls in yours?
I beg your pardon.
This is not how it was supposed to happen at all.
I love how broad Stephen's humor is.
Industrial. We all know why Aaron has industrial strength tissues.
You're not supposed to do that.
Right, everybody put their trays away.
You've put sort of gunk all on the eye.
Yeah.
Oh. So, well done with your lava lamps, he said between gritted teeth. The inventor was Edward Craven Walker, who was born in 1918 and died in the year 2000. And I asked you at the very beginning what his other leisure pursuits were. And, well, let me read you what he said about the lava lamp. He said it starts from nothing, grows possibly a little feminine, then a little bit masculine, then breaks up and has children. It's a sexy thing.
He was having a lava, wasn't he?
He was...
I believe I did that. Just
Don't punish
don't
yourself.
look at
It's
me
fine.
like that.
Not angry, I'm just disappointed.
He thought it was like he'd made an organism.
A sort of lovely, sexy thing. And he was that kind of a man, I'm afraid.
Was he
he was
a
into some-
swinger? Was he one of the
He
swingers?
was pretty much a swinger.
Oh, was he?
He was
He
a swinger.
directed nudist films. That was
Nudist films?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when
He,
you say
he was a nudist.
His were naturist films, yes, or
the
naturist.
fact that
depending
that
on
was
the-
his hobby, did he not turn a profit on the porn?
It wasn't
He
porn
had
as well.
to subsidise his porn-making habit with his lava lamp business.
He got the first naturist film that was on public release. That's the
That's
point.
not how you
They
do
don't know how
it.
to do it.
It's not porn, it's about people being naked. And this was a ballet underwater.
Vulcans do it like that.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they? Mind Melvin.
Is that one of his? Is that a still from one
No,
of his?
actually, we've made that up, apparently.
Are those members of the production
thinking
team?
that it
I don't think they're being paid enough to have to do that.
A couple of our elves
When you say the
relaxing.
QI elves, that's not the image that springs into...
No. You think of sun-starved, specky creatures who is...
I don't want to be
All that
unkind, but
blue
yes, I do. Not a male and a female trying to do some sort of Scissor Sisters action.
Well, Edward Craven Walker founded the largest nudist colony in Britain, too. One of the largest.
Milton Keynes.
Do you know the name of the company that still sells the lava lamps? His company?
Oh, it begins with an... It's something to do... It's a math... It begins with a... Math...
Mathmos.
They've
That's
got a
absolutely
store,
right.
haven't they, in Clerkenwell?
Share the points between you. Do you know where that name comes from?
Mathmos?
Yeah. It's a film starring Jane Fonda.
Oh.
Same...
Barbarella?
Barbarella.
Oh, yes.
Barbarella.
Yes, it was a seething lake of oily substances.
And Duran Duran comes from that movie as well.
It does indeed, absolutely. The city of Sogo in Barbarella had this lake of mathmos. And
At school, we used to call people who were good at maths...
Mathmos.
Mathmos.
Yeah, that's right. That's still used.
Just a different
I
pronunciation.
like the idea at school you look down on anyone. Good at maths. Oh, bloody idiots.
No, I deemed it a term of respect.
Were they calling you
Wear
Mathmos?
your Mathmo badge with pride. And they did wear badges. Yeah.
Did they?
You did wear badges.
You wore...
I collected
how many
badges.
did you?
Oh. Yeah, because you go to, like, Warwick Castle and London Zoo, and in order for the Western economy to prosper, small children have to buy pointless objects. Buy all of these places. You could buy a bookmark, you could buy a paperweight...
A pencil
you could
topper.
Exactly, or you could buy a badge, and I always bought a badge, and that's how I expressed my personality. I didn't have to think, what shall I buy? Oh, no, I didn't have to think. I always buy a badge.
It took him ages to take them all off before we came on here.
Well, thank you. Now, how can I make sure that I dream about scantily clad women?
Does it work to look at a scantily clad woman just before you go to sleep?
You're along the right lines, yes. There was a Frenchman with the marvellous name of Marie-Jean Léon Lecoq, the Marquis d'Hervey...
Léon Lecoq.
Léon Lecoq. He was the Marquis d'Hervey de Saint-Denis, and he was a beardy old Victorian aristocrat, as you can see from this picture of him. There he is, with his medals.
So you're going to say pervert.
His technique...
What are the medals for?
He's looking at a scantily clad lady right there.
One of those, I can tell you what they are. The first one, that he went to Warwick Castle. The next one is London Zoo. That's a pencil topper. Very much the French David Mitchell of his age. So what was his technique for dreaming of scantily clad women?
Well, what he would do is he would paint a scantily clad woman all day while chewing an orris root. Orris root is used in potpourris and in perfumes and such things. And then he would go to sleep, and his servant would place, while he was asleep, some orris root in his mouth, very gently. And this would summon up the memory of the scantily clad woman, and he would have what is known technically as a lucid dream, a dream which you're aware of and which you have a kind of control of, a bit like...
Presumably it was an improvement for the servant on what he was previously asked to do.
Yes, imagine so. But there are ways you can do this for yourself without a servant, according to Richard Wiseman, who's written a new book called Night School. And one of them is you check your watch regularly, as much as you can, being absolutely sure to look at the numbers, the numerals on the watch, throughout the day.
Right.
And this is likely to cause you to dream of yourself looking at the watch when you're asleep. But you won't be able to see the numbers properly. And this forces you somehow to be aware that you're in a dream. You kind of know that you're looking for the numbers and that they're not there. And that kind of puts you in control in the sort of holodeck of your dream, as it were.
I can see a very serious flaw in this man's plan.
Yes.
What happens if one day, when you're awake, you put on a watch that doesn't have numbers, just has little lines, and you look at it later in the day and you think, oh, brilliant, I'm in a dream. I can do what I like. I'm not really at work. The receptionist from work isn't really here. I can do what I like.
It could be like Terry Thomas and call Sir Dennis an old buffoon.
Exactly. Yes. People will be calling each other old buffoons all the time before you know it.
I imagine in that scenario, you woke up in the office, you thought, oh, I'm in a dream. I imagine you would quietly get on with your work.
I'm afraid
I'm sad to say, but I think that's what would happen.
Apparently 50% of us have had a lucid dream in that sense in our lives, and you're more likely to have one if you are a computer gamer as well, which is perhaps not surprising, spending your time in that sort of, you know, grand thefting. Now on to lingerie. Now, whom did your great-great-great-great-grandmother throw her pants at?
How many
Four greats and a grandmother.
Great, that's
grandmother.
Yeah.
So
Victorian.
If that's Scouse, though, that could be the 70s. I think they'll be all right. They've got a sense of humour, don't panic. Can you do the next, like, 5 minutes in a Scouse voice so that we won't get letters of complaint?
Okay. Okay, then. What are you going to say?
That's good. I want some chicken and a can of Coke. I can only do Scouse if I say, I want some chicken and a can of Coke.
That's all they say, isn't it? Sorry, no. No, they've got a sense of humour.
Let's get on to something...
Disgraceful.
There was Israel or something less contemporary.
Would it be kind of like at the time, so we were talking, that would be about around 1850?
Early Victorian era.
So didn't they get the celebrities of the time were people who were doing useful things like Isambard, Kingdom Brunel or someone?
No.
No one does suspension like him.
He does.
I love his cantilevers.
I like the fact that your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was always old.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
Even when she was throwing her knickers at people, she was an old lady.
I don't know, it's ridiculous. It was a celebrity of the time.
He was a celebrity, and the most famous pant-throwing receptor was Tom Jones, or is Tom Jones, of course, still very much alive and booming.
What do you mean, still very much alive? Have you not seen The Voice?
You don't get this phenomenon of like throwing your pants at someone, because at what point do you go out with extra pants? Do you literally go, I've got the car keys, travel card, pants on, pants to throw?
Oh, the gesture is meaningless unless they're the pants you were wearing for function.
Right.
I mean, you just brought a bag of other pants. It's got the term of abuse.
But what if it's a David Cassidy? What if you've got flares on, David? You're watching a David Cassidy thing, and do you take them off down one leg, or do you take them all off?
We still haven't clearly
Garibaldi.
Not Garibaldi.
So we're talking
We're in the right area with
He was
music.
popular,
Yes, but
Garibaldi.
he wasn't a musician.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
is it composer?
Bourbon, custard cream.
Composer, but a performer, the most extraordinary performer of his day.
Liszt.
Franz Liszt is the right answer. Absolutely. Well done. We got there. It looks more as if you've been attacked by a swarm of bees, but that is supposed to indicate ladies and their husbands trying to restrain them. These women, some of them fainting, throwing kisses. You can see they're absolutely rapturous. And they were completely astounded by this man, his virtuosity.
Was he as good as Liberace? I knew that what I'm saying. Look at him, he's livid.
He was an astounding composer as well as a remarkable pianist. And, of course, he was exploiting the new developments in pianos and the arrival of the pianoforte as opposed to the forte piano, which preceded it. And he was remarkable for many other reasons as well. He had affairs with a lot of people, including Lola Montez. Do you know of Lola Montez? It's an extraordinary Irish woman who'd had an affair with Ludwig of Bavaria and caused a revolution in Bavaria, in fact. There she is. And he then, amazingly, Liszt became an abbé, an abbot, essentially, a man of the cloth. He was very thin and tall, Charles Halley said. His perfectly lank hair so long that it spreads over his shoulders, which looks very odd. When he gets excited and gesticulates, it falls right over his face, and one sees nothing of his nose. So he was like an old English sheepdog, perhaps, in that sense. He had Olga Janina, who was a former pupil with whom he'd had a fling, who pursued him all over Europe and eventually got so upset and hysterical that she stalked him and tried to stab him and commit suicide. So he really, you know, he was a star. I mean, a real star.
It's a very odd thing, that. The idea that, like, the guy that killed John Lennon was such a huge fan of John Lennon. It's a very weird thing when people get so...
Rich man kills the thing he loves. Let this be known. The brave man does it with a sword, the coward...
How many fans have you got, Jimmy?
Not enough to be worried. It's a lovely level of fame, a comedian, I think. People come up and tell you jokes all day, which is very pleasant, but no one's ever outside your house going, I made you a cake.
There's always the Daily Mail, Jimmy. They're always outside.
They're happy.
Yeah. So, yeah, the ladies went loopy for Liszt, the Justin Bieber of his day. That's hardly right. Come on. But, you know...
All right, Harry Styles.
Great Stop it. He was a genius. Total genius. Now for a game of Spot the Leaf. I want you to tell me how many leaves are in this picture.
That's going to be easy.
Six.
Willingly.
It's going to be 5 and a creepy crawly.
5 and a creepy crawly is
creepy
the right...
crawly is the technical term. He is pretty good, though, isn't he?
He is. He's very impressive. I mean, even the little sort of disease marks, and you'll see, we have actually film of him, he kind of waves in the wind like a leaf. Insects, of course, get eaten whole by birds, and so his strategy is to look like that, but the problem is he occasionally gets bits of himself nibbled by caterpillars. So it's kind of, you've got to be a bit careful with your looking like a leaf.
Imagine the caterpillars live at his walking, I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah. Well, that's it, exactly. So they take one bite and go, that's not what I wanted at all.
What does he eat?
Good point. I think he eats leaves.
So he looks like his own lunch.
Yes.
What you call
me if I...
hoisted by your own petard.
Somewhat,
If
definitely.
I looked at myself in the mirror and I looked like some delicious mashed potato, you know, in a way I do. It doesn't do my self-esteem any good.
Do you think he ever looks at his wife and goes, oh, she looks amazing?
Tasty, yeah. Very tasty.
I'm ravenous.
It's Filidae, called walking leaves, or leaf insects, many other things. They're found in Southeast Asia and Australia. But we have also the satanic leaf-tailed gecko, which looks like an autumnal leaf.
That is
Isn't that
extraordinary.
good? Because it's in the dry, deciduous forests of Madagascar. And there it
can he
curls
only
up like a curled up
That's
leaf.
amazing.
That's amazing. But can he only come out in autumn?
Well, it's an interesting point. I've been to the deciduous forests of Madagascar, and it was in the summer, and there was so much dead litter on the ground. It's dry. They are dry forests.
Yeah.
So I think he's probably, all year round, it's kind of OK to be on this kind of, stuff on... There he is. Amazing, really.
Either that or living in the 70s, he'd be fine, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Or they don't exist and someone's drawn eyes on a leaf. It's worth considering that.
Now, there's rather astonishing, there's a plant that's a master of disguise. See if you can spot which plant.
Looks like a badger. I mean, I would say if it's trying to not look like a plant, it's failed.
Does it look like another plant? Is that what it's doing?
Well, that's it. One of those leaves is actually a totally different species, and it's made itself look like that species. There it is, the arrow's pointing at it. It's only recently been discovered that that's a totally different species. I think the point is, it tries to look like a leaf that isn't very digestible or pleasant, because it itself is. And so it has learnt how to look like something that is not tasty.
Why didn't it learn not to be tasty? Well, the deliciousness is a given.
Evolution. Give living things millions of years and they will just go through strange processes.
Did chocolate sauce evolve to look like diarrhea?
So that people wouldn't eat it.
Yeah, he sort of go, oh, it might be diarrhea. This seems like quite a nice restaurant. I doubt it is diarrhea. Let me give it a sniff first.
That's why God gave us noses, I think. Leaves aren't always what they seem. Now, a question about larceny. Where did the 40 shoplifting elephants hide their loot?
In a cave.
Like Alibaba's thieves.
Alibaba's
40.
thieves.
In their trunks.
Totally worth it, David. Totally worth it. Somebody had to fall on their sword, and that was very noble. No, the elephants existed from the 1700s all the way up to the 1950s. They took their name from an area of London that has the word elephant in it, which would be...
Elephant and Castle.
Elephant and Castle, that's right.
Is this the pickpocket gang?
Not pickpocket. They were a gang of shoplifters, and they had special clothing made, and special muffs and special false hands and all kinds of things. And they would sometimes attack all kinds of shops at the same time, and then have huge, lavish parties to celebrate.
Tin foil in your coats.
Or any number of clever little
Means
techniques.
it does when you go out, it doesn't go bleep bleep.
Yeah, that's... Don't tell the ladies.
I haven't told them how they get caught.
A friend of mine wrote an article about a current group of really serious shoplifters called the Oysters. And they called them up and said, why are you called the Oysters? Is it something to do with, because you kind of clam things shut over you? So, no, because we oyster stuff, isn't it? You had to go through a change to a global search and replace to hoister. But these were hoisters.
The hoister cult.
Yeah, the hoister. We know other things about real elephants who are criminals. In 2013, not that long ago, the second tallest elephant in India was arrested for murder. It's rather unfair.
Did it run amok? Because that's what they do, isn't
They
it?
always run amok.
They
That's
run
the
amok.
phrase.
Yeah. There was an elephant that was hung. Is that the one you're talking about? The elephant that was hung?
I think they're all pretty well hung.
There was one that was hanged.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one that was hanged. You're absolutely right. We've covered this.
I heard about some criminals. It was a smuggler. Do you know this story? It's a famous story, like from Pakistan to Afghanistan. There was a famous smuggler who was used to smuggle things across the border.
Right.
And he was known as a brilliant smuggler, and they used to stop him at border control, and they would check his elephants and do like, what have you got here? Go through all the bags, and they could never find the contraband. And eventually he was retiring. They said, look, you've got to tell us. One of the guys bumps into him. What were you smuggling all those years? He went, elephants.
There's something about that that's entirely beautiful. So the 40 elephants were lady shoplifters with lots of loot in their muffs. Who has the world's largest love handles, and what do they use them for?
Eric Pickles.
Oh, dear!
You're
You see?
Should we come on?
Yeah.
Oh, I've forgotten about that. Blue whale?
Not the blue whale.
Wait, sorry. So it's not the blue whale, but I'm close.
You are.
A barnacle.
Stay with cetaceous creatures. Stay with a mammal.
It's a
that
whale.
lives in the
It's a
sea.
type of
It's a whale. It's a whale. And it begins with a B.
Blue whale. Have another look, Steve, because I'm pretty sure I got it right.
There are other kinds of whale that begin with a B.
Bum whale, bull
There's a
whale,
bowhead.
Well,
big whale.
What's the
Big
most
whale.
famous and expensive kind of caviar?
Beluga.
beluga whale.
Beluga whale. Yes. There one is.
Look at it, that was going, hello!
Flying on its side.
Hello! I'm a beluga whale now! It is all I can do!
He's very chirpy. They have no dorsal fin, and amazing.
I haven't got a dorsal fin! I don't feel the cold. I don't feel it.
They don't because of their blubber.
It's all the blubber.
And they have midriff blubber, which they can
Do my
control.
love handles, baby.
They control their love handles with special muscles, so that's how they move around, and that's how they, you know.
That's how I roll.
That's how they roll. Exactly right. Oh, they move up and down with their love handles, and they're hunted by the local Inupiaq people in the Arctic.
I hate that.
You've got a career in animation ahead of you.
So, it's like Richard Attenborough's programmes have been revoiced by South Park.
There is no show that wouldn't be improved by being revoiced by someone.
It's true. And their fat is called muktuk, and is highly prized by the Inuits and the Inupiaq because it's high in vitamin C, surprisingly.
Oh, look at that. Double chips with that.
There's one in Baltimore. Yeah, the beluga whale. Full of love handles.
Just by that guy pointing at it in the front there.
Yeah.
Look at that. Guess you haven't spied it. Look, there's a whale. The other guy's pointing as well.
Darling,
there he is. Spied it. There he is.
Where is it?
You can't see. He's there. He's there. The other guy there. He's there.
Sorry, I don't recognise anything that's not wearing a hat.
Anyway, the beluga whales steady themselves with the world's largest love handles. All that we caught, we left behind, and carry away all that we did not catch. What am I talking about?
Venereal disease. Somewhere along the line, I'm sure.
What I'd already caught, I left behind by giving it to other people.
By breathing it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
By breathing it out.
Yeah, well, it is a riddle. It was a riddle given to a man of mythic status, so much so we don't even know if he existed, and yet his name is incredibly famous, and there are statues of him, even though we don't know that he existed.
King Arthur.
No, older than that, an oracle, the most famous of the oracles in the Western canon, of Delphi. Yeah, told him that he would die on the island of Ios, and that he should beware the riddles of young children. And this man went round the Greek islands as a minstrel, because that's what he did. He sang poems to a lyre. So they were lyric, but they're known as epic, in fact. The great epic poems of Greek civilization, the two are Homer. And it's Homer we're thinking of. And Homer supposedly, in this story, went to Ios where he encountered a group of fisher boys.
You went to Ios, but the guy just said don't go.
I know, but this
just died,
always
and
happens in Greek myth, went to do with the Delphi. I mean, think of Oedipus.
Don't listen.
Well,
know.
sometimes the oracle is sort of quite enigmatic
very,
and difficult.
yes.
But if he said, don't go to Ios...
That's really
and he goes, you know...
Anyway, Homer went to Ios, and he encountered a group of fisher boys. He asked them what they'd caught, and they gave him this riddle. And I'll repeat it again. All that we caught, we left behind, and carry away all that we did not catch. And he suddenly remembered Homer. Oh, my God, I shouldn't have asked riddles, and I'm on Ios. And maybe that's the thing about being cursed or having a prophecy, is that you stop concentrating. He slipped, cracked his head, died.
Should have gone to Argos.
They should have gone to Argos.
You get everything there.
Argos was Jason's ship, of course, wasn't it? Hence the Argonauts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
The Argos, the chain, they call their staff Argonauts to this day.
Oh, do they?
No.
So I'm going to give you the, two riddles from the Essex book.
Oh, by the way, what's the solution?
I haven't given you the solution
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. The solution is lice. Lice, you see. You catch the lice in your hair, you leave them behind.
Yes.
And you carry away those you don't catch because they're stuck in your hair.
The nits.
Yeah, the nits, exactly.
Those are
The
the
nits
worst
yourself.
fishermen ever.
The nits.
I know. But I've got the Essex book, one of the great Anglo-Saxon
Oh, I've
books.
got an Essex
it's
riddle.
filled with riddles. No, Exeter, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So go on then with your Essex riddle.
Go
Now
on,
you
go
want to
on.
say it.
How do you turn the lights on after sex? Open the
Open
car
the
door.
So, moving way west, all the way to Devon, we're in Exeter. One of the great works of Anglo-Saxon literature, the Exeter book, written in the 10th century, contains more than 90 riddles, most of which are rather rude. Here's one. My stem is erect. I stand up over the bed, hairy somewhere down below. A peasant's daughter lays her hand on me, seizes me, red, plunders my head, confines me in a stronghold. Wet be that eye. What is being referred to?
Shagging.
My junk.
Surely it's shagging.
That's the point, it's a riddle.
So there is
Makes you think that it's full of double entendre. So
Right,
it obviously
so-
is made to sound like a penis.
Is it a plant or something?
It is a plant, but wet be that eye. What plant wets your eye? And it's hairy down below when you pull it out of the ground.
Like a novelty flower squeezing.
Audience? You must feel ashamed of yourself. Another one. A curiosity hangs by the thigh of a man under its master's cloak. It is pierced through in the front. It is stiff and hard, and when the man pulls up his own robe above his knee, he means to poke with the head of his hanging thing, that familiar hole of matching length, which he has often filled before.
Just kiss me, Steve. all this messing around.
Sounds like shagging again.
It does. It hangs by his thigh.
It's a
Is it
hilt,
keys?
a hilt
Is it
of
keys
a
in a hole?
sword.
Keys is the right answer. It's a key. It's a key. A curiosity hangs by the thigh of a man. These obviously hang by their belt. Under its master's cloak. It's pierced through in the front, as it is. Pierced piece of iron. Sure. It is stiff and hard. No question about that. When the man pulls up his own robe above his knee, he means to poke with the head of his hanging thing that familiar hole of matching length, which is the keyhole, which he has often filled before. Because he's unlocked the door before. And it's a key. So much
Quite time on their hands, didn't they?
They did have time on their hands. That's absolutely
That's
right.
the job for today. Let's find an incredibly rude way of referring to a key.
And they were presumably religious figures because they were reading and writing in the 10th century. You know. So there you are. Now for the riddle of the sphincter that we call general ignorance. Fingers on mushroomoids, please. How many Spartans died at the Battle of Thermopylae?
Oh. This can be 300. Well, I saw a documentary about this,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure it's definitely 300.
The film is called 300.
Is there not a thing that one... Because there weren't just Spartans there.
Sparta!
There were...
That is how it's pronounced.
There weren't just Spartans there. There were other... But I think one of the Spartans... The Spartans sound
There was a
nasty.
narrow coastal pass that was defended just by Spartans, 300 of them, plus their king, played by Gerard Butler, who was Spartan, called...
The 301st?
His name was... He was the 301st, Leonidas, if you prefer. But,
Leonidas.
He's now got a chain of chocolate shops.
I was brought up to call him Leonidas, but Leonidas seems to be the way now. I don't know. Who knows? But Leonidas or Leonidas, thank you. He defended a narrow coastal pass, and so they're 301. Only 299 Spartans died, though, so it leaves 2 who didn't. Leonidas did. 2 survived because they never took part.
Mike and Bernie Winters.
A lot of nudity going on, which was a very Spartan thing.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got his sword.
The couple by the tree seemed very fond of each other, once grasping the nipple of the other.
Oh, yeah.
So swords casually laid against
so
them.
much effort and not put your pants on.
It's
There's something about one of the ones that they were ashamed.
They were desperately ashamed. One called, rather wonderfully, Pan-Titties. It's a bit like...
Do you mean pantitis?
There was an MP who was introduced to Churchill, whose name was Bossum, and Churchill said neither one thing nor the other. But anyway, Pan-Titties, or Pant-Titties, or whatever he was, Pantites, went off to deliver a diplomatic message, apparently, an embassy, and he hanged himself from shame when he got back and saw that he was the only survivor. In fact, he wasn't the only survivor, because Eurytus couldn't fight because of an eye infection. The Spartans have taken all the credit for the winning of the Battle of Thermopylae, but it was very much a combined effort with the Athenians, who were their allies at the time. Herodotus, known as the father of history, who was born 4 years after the battle, is the closest contemporary source, and he estimated the Greeks numbered about 5,000.
He was born 4 years after it happened.
Yeah,
but
he's
the
closest
best we can do.
Yeah,
well, that's all right then.
No one else wrote.
That's
no one
better
else.
than a lot of ancient history.
The father of history, what's he called?
Herodotus.
Herodotus. Because it must have been a lot easier when he was around. I'm not having a go at him.
No, it's a very fair
But less
point.
things had happened back then.
Fewer things.
Yes.
I think.
Common usage. Common usage.
It's so like being back at school. It's unbelievable.
Apparently you can say less or if you want to now.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can just say what you like these days. Apparently, that's
You can
the new
literally
thing.
say less if you want to.
Apparently, you're not allowed to scream idiot at people. What was the point in getting an education at all? I know how to use the apostrophe. Apparently, now it doesn't matter. What I want the time it took me to learn that back.
You need to be less bothered about this, or fewer bothered. You need to be fewer bothered about this kind of thing. Just let it go. Be fewer upset.
Now, what type of birds did the Birdman keep in his cell in Alcatraz?
Is it a canary?
A canary. A canary.
I can't believe I got a buzzer. I might be close, because last time I said 300 and it was 299.
Yeah,
Canary.
Did he keep them in the cell? Did they come to the window? I can't remember the film now. It's Burt Lancaster, wasn't it?
It wasn't allowed, is the right... Well done, audience. Very good.
You weren't allowed birds in the cell, were you? No.
But he was in his previous prison, which is why he was called the Birdman. And he ended up in Alcatraz, which is why I suppose he was called the Birdman of Alcatraz. But he was an amazing expert on canaries, so that was his bird of choice. And sparrows. I know, but he didn't keep them in
299, I was
Alcatraz.
one away. Canaries, I said canaries.
And his name...
What do you want from me?
Do you know his name? Robert Franklin Stroud. And he was moved to the Great Rock, as they call it, from which no one escapes. According to Patrick McGowan.
To the rock.
Yes.
I think Sean Connery got out, yeah.
Patrick
To the
McGowan.
rock.
Yes.
Welcome to the rock.
One more time, we'll go again.
Welcome to the rock.
So kind. And we can have a look at Alcatraz. That's the inside. You can do a tour of it.
I've done a tour of it.
Have you?
It's great. I liked it a lot, but they used to put people in the cells. All the cell doors, they can open them from one end or they slide, because they don't have doors that open.
Yes, that's right.
They put prisoners in them, tourists, I mean, in them, and then one day they couldn't get them out. So they had some tourists in there for 10 hours, and lots of other tourists coming past. Who all suddenly were on much better behaviour.
They didn't buy anything from the gift shop.
You can see it very clearly from San Francisco. It looks so near, and it was quite easy to escape from your jail and swim, but nobody survived the swim, even though it seems quite a short distance, because
really
the
does.
currents are so strong.
Current,
Yeah,
eh?
it's swept away. And Alcatraz, of course, is a word of what origin, would you imagine?
Mexico.
Well,
Imagine.
Spanish language, yes, indeed. And a lot of the Spanish words come from...
Spain.
Owl. It begins with owl, so like Alhambra and...
the Moors.
The Moors. It's an Arabic word, from Arabic. And oddly enough, in Spanish, Alcatraz means gannets, seabirds, but it used to mean pelicans. So when they've called the rock Alcatraz, they were calling it after the pelicans. But the actual Arabic words mean something completely different, the sea eagle. So it's a strange thing. Alcatraz was the sea eagle, then it was used to mean the pelican by the Spanish, and then they changed it to mean the gannet. So, confusing, but that was how it changed its meaning. You were allowed hot showers in Alcatraz, but not cold ones. Why would that be?
Hot showers, but not cold ones.
No, because I don't know.
It's so that you wouldn't be acclimatised to the cold water.
The cold water.
Yes.
If you were going to be that determined, though, you wouldn't just sort of dip your foot
I think
and go,
people do
bit
try.
nippy. I think I'll go back in, actually. That was a mistake.
Have they not done it now? You get these Iron Men that do these incredible
probably-
swims. I think someone must have done it.
But some of
It's
the
that they have
prisoners who did
special-
escape were never found. So
It was assumed, I
it
think,
was
to keep the
assumed they were
reputation.
dead, but they may have escaped.
Yeah.
It probably suited everyone.
Yeah, because they didn't want the myth of Alcatraz to die. Who was the first person to put stuff between two slices of bread and eat it?
Lay.
Lord Sandwich.
Oh, what a shame. Pity.
I
You were
knew
doing
that.
so well.
That.
The Earl of Sandwich certainly gave his name to what we call the sarnie or the sandwich or the butty, all kinds of words for it. But
Was it the Earl of Butty?
we know that mankind has been making bread for 30,000 years, and it seems inconceivable that no human being decided to put something between two of those.
So we're just assuming it just must have been ages ago. Someone
Well,
must
yes,
have done it
we
ages
do
ago.
know for a fact that 1,200 years ago there was a Hillel the Elder, a rabbi in the 1st century BC, first person known to have made and eaten a sandwich. He started the Passover custom, putting a mixture of chopped nuts, apple spices and wine between two flatbreads.
That's a Peshwari naan.
Well,
Peshwari
Nice.
naan.
it's...
Oh, no, you said
One
Peshwari.
right now, wouldn't you?
We're just mopping up the end. Oh,
Out the bag when it comes. Oh, with all the almonds and the coconut in it.
we put in a good shift, shall we?
I'm drooling.
I prefer a plain naan.
Oh, what's the matter with you?
You got bags
Always
for that,
one,
have you?
isn't there? At every lane.
Oh,
badge
you wouldn't have a
fucking
plain
plain
bit of
naan,
bread,
have
would
So
you?
we'll have 5 Peshwari naans and one for him. So anyway, John Montagu was the 4th Earl of Sandwich. Certainly gave his name to it in our culture, as it were.
He's on Gogglebox now, the sandwich.
Is he? The idea was that he just called for it because he was very busy. Most people think gambling, because he was an inveterate gambler, though his biographer says actually he was very busy with his ministerial work. He was Postmaster General, he was First Lord of the Admiralty.
Never mind all that. When he got together with Mr. Branston, they got together, it was Moida.
So, anyway, that's the last of the questions. Let's see who's Victor Ludorum. Oh, my actual God. Sorry to say, in last place with -29 is the girl of many faces and voices,
Stop
Ryan
that.
Conan.
Can't be.
And third place with -11 is Jimmy Carr.
Perfectly acceptable. -11 is fine.
In second place with -7, it's David Mitchell. Can I be uttering these words with a plus score? 3 points, Alan Davis! All from Ronnie, Jimmy, David, Alan and me. And I leave you with the last words of Nancy Lady Astor. Waking up to find her bed surrounded by her entire family as she was dying, she said, "Am I dying? Or is it my birthday?" Good night.